I feel like everyone has an experience of being home alone. Some see it as a extremely freeing experience. No one can tell you what to do, you have full range of everything in the house. It gives you a glimpse of what it would be like living in a home that is all yours. However, some might view it as the opposite. Being alone means you are completely alone, unless you're not. This is the premise of Fears to Fathom Chapter 1. If you're one of those creatures that live under a rock and don't know what Fears to Fathom is, I'll explain. Fears to Fathom is a game series where the developers take real-life stories from the internet and turn them into playable games. These stories are real stories that have happened to real people, and because of them, the games feel genuinely real because the contents are based in reality and could genuinely happen to you or me. And that's what makes them so interesting and weirdly fun to play. I have already played the first chapter, Home Alone, and I do plan on playing the other 4, the last chapter only being released recently from when this script was written. In this video, I plan on going deep into what happens in this chapter and what makes it so effective in scaring us. So without further ado, this is Fears to Fathom Chapter 1. This story follows an unnamed 14-year-old boy. By the quick brief the start of the chapter gives us, this boy was home alone due to his parents going on a business trip and leaving him for the weekend. He also mentions that at this time his sleep schedule was terrible, and this will come into play during the game. We wake up after a nap to find that it is evening and we get a text from our mom. She shows concern for her son after leaving him alone, which our protagonist says that he is a strong and independent 14-year-old. Listen, at 14, I was still struggling to make scrambled eggs and remembering what my locker number was. There is no shot this kid is better. We walk around the house getting a lay of the land, and we have the possibility of stumbling into our parents' room and looking out the window to see a strange man looking at the house. After being spotted, he turns around and walks away. That's strange, but maybe he's just looking at our real estate. Also around this time, we're attempting to ask our friends to come over and hang out since we're home alone. They eventually flake out on us, but who needs fake friends? Also, our mom says that there's a lasagna in the fridge and we can have that for dinner. We move downstairs and see what the lower level looks like. We get to the fridge, find the lasagna, and throw it in the oven. After waiting a bit, we grab the baked lasagna with our bare hands and decide to watch TV while we eat. As we sit down to eat, being glued to this TV, we see a pair of footsteps walking up the stairs. Easy to miss, but when we notice it, it's hard not to be a little startled. If we walk around, we see the back door was open when we thought it was closed. The game tells us that we need to work on our homework in our room, but mind you, our room is upstairs. So with that, we're being forced to go towards an unknown danger. We go upstairs and see that nothing's wrong. So we run back to our room, close the door, and start our homework. After all, it could have just been our eyes playing tricks on us or something. After a few hours of homework, we get tired and decide to go to bed. Once in bed, we fall asleep only to wake up again in need of water. At this time, the house is fully dark, and with the weird filter on the game, it's extremely hard to see details. Nonetheless, we go downstairs, head to the fridge, and proceed to have probably the most thirst-quenching bottle of water in the whole goddamn universe. After gargling an entire ocean, we walk through complete darkness back up to our room, and as soon as we get to our bed, we get another text from our mom, this time a single image. We open our phone, and while we can barely make it out in the darkness, we can see a single shadowy silhouette at the front of the door. We carefully and slowly walk down the stairs until we get to the front door. There we are able to quietly peek through the blinds. But as soon as we do, he sees us immediately. Not knowing what to do next, we just rush back up to our room and hide under our bed like our mom told us to do. It's dead silent under our bed, hoping that our door prevents him from getting in. And just as we start to fully comprehend what's happening, he breaks the window somewhere and manages to creep in. Now we're even more stressed, anxiously awaiting to hear our door open or see footsteps appear at the edge of our bed. But before any of that, we hear a doorbell ring. However, we know that the intruder is still in the house. We don't know where, and that's the most dangerous part. The game does not continue until you leave the room. So with as much courage as we can possibly muster, we get out from under our bed, walk out of our room, and just as we get to the stairs, the intruder opens the door by our stairs and waits for us to get close. We don't see him, but his shadow shows that his hands are out, ready to grab you. We can't move an inch or else he'll catch us. So we walk back to our room, trying not to make a sound and hide under our bed again. Now we truly feel trapped. Almost like the game is unbeatable, like our death is unavoidable. The doorbell continues to ring, locking us in this loop of hope and stress, not knowing what to do next. Suddenly, we hear police sirens in the distance. Ending music and credits start playing, notifying us that the man was caught and we survived. We get out from under our bed and rush downstairs. We open the door to see the neighbor on the other side, ready to comfort us and end the chapter, a survivor. And then the game just crashes and ends. Wow, that was a lot. If this game was not based on a true story, I feel like people would point out how simplistic the storyline is. Child is home alone and has to survive a stranger that wants to hurt him or worse. However, knowing that this is a real story and that this scenario can happen to anyone, you or me, it gives us a unique kind of fear that your average horror game can't give us. However, the question is raised, how does this game scare us so effectively in its own way with its gameplay? Well, luckily, I have an explanation for that, so let's talk about the gameplay next. Fears of Fathom Chapter 1 throws a lot of things at us that add to both immersion and confusion within its gameplay. Factors that keep us on our toes and make us feel like this is a real-life scenario. Let me show you what I mean. The first, and I would say the most important and effective gameplay detail, is how the order of events force you to walk into danger. The game forces you to go upstairs after seeing the footsteps, it forces you to check the front door, it forces you to walk near him to escape. Due to this fact, the game plays really well into the fear of the unknown. We start the game off not knowing literally anything or even that there is a threat, but once we are introduced to the threat, we are constantly on edge of where he is or even if he's in the house at all. Those two things put together, the concept of the fear of the unknown and the order of events that force you to confront danger, have created a horror scenario that is both immersive and effective. Another factor in its gameplay is actually the art style, with the art style being more simplified and angular, almost like a PS2 game on an old TV. Some details are hard to discern. We can understand basic shapes and some level of detail since it's rooted in reality, but the art style is so simplified and dated that a lot of it is left up to the imagination, and it adds to the overall confusion of the game. Is there someone in the shadows? I don't know, it's hard to see a silhouette in the darkness. Is that movement? No, it's just the fuzzy overlay on the screen. The art style created for this chapter plays extremely well within the other factors of the gameplay, especially the concept of the fear of the unknown, an environment and series of events that makes you question your actions, but also an art style that makes you question everything you're seeing is the perfect duo that creates such a harmony within the game as a whole. One last factor I thought of when playing this game is how the characters involved are made and act like normal people dealing with everyday issues. Our mom being worried about us being home alone, our friends wanting to hang out, the nosy neighbor, hell, even how we react to others makes us feel like we are playing a young teenager in this scenario. Telling our mom to get off our backs, complaining about a crush to a friend, and just being excited to have some independence are all things a typical teenager does. With the points I previously mentioned about the order of events and an unknown environment, the idea of putting a child into this scenario is just icing on the cake. Having someone so young and naive just adds another layer of immersion and uncertainty when it comes to the actions we are about to make. Overall, I think this chapter has such a dream team of factors and gameplay elements that work so well together, and I applaud the game dev with a standing ovation that they were able to pull it off in such an amazing and immersive way. There is one more factor to the game that I want to talk about regarding this chapter, and I feel like it deserves its own segment, and that is the sound design. Now, if I've learned one thing from my many years of gaming, it's that gameplay and sound design go hand in hand like a sleep-deprived Kaden and a pack of undercooked ramen. This chapter's sound design works extremely well with its gameplay, and I want to put a spotlight on a few things that I thought of when playing the game. So let's dive in. First off, the music as a whole. Throughout the game, you will experience a few different tracks depending on what you are doing, what's happening, where you are, etc. Now, that's typical for most, if not all games. However, what makes this case special is that unknown aspect. You could just be walking up or down the stairs or looking around and not notice something's off, only for the music to change and you don't understand why. It triggers your fight or flight almost, and gives us a sense of panic because we don't know what's going on. It's like those Dark Souls memes where the boss music just starts playing out of nowhere. Another part of the sound design that adds immersion is the random sound effects happening around us. Since we are in what looks like the suburbs, it wouldn't be unusual to hear cars drive by, dogs barking, or trees just blowing in the wind. In any other given scenario, we would just hear these sounds and not really bat an eye. The only issue is we are not in a normal scenario. We are on high alert, and that means every sound made needs to be taken with the utmost seriousness. Every sound feels like it's dangerous, even if these are the same sounds we hear every day. Because we are in such a high stress situation, we start thinking those sounds are the worst case scenario. Is the car full of robbers? Does the intruder have a guard dog? Does that tree have a gun? This kind of sound design also plays really well into the real world outside the game. When you are playing, and if you are in an environment that can also create these sounds, you might have a hard time discerning what is real and what is fake. I know when I played it, I heard people walking around outside my dorm, and I got so spooked for a second. It's that immersive. Every sound we hear in this game plays perfect support to what was already a high stakes and high stress environment. From the random track changes to the random sound of a car driving by, the sound design mixed with the well-designed gameplay makes a perfect harmony of fear and immersion. It's weird to praise a game that scared me so much, but hey, that's horror games for you. Overall, Fears to Fathom Chapter 1 is the perfect kickoff to a game series of this design and this caliber, creating stories based off of true events and created in a way that makes it feel truly real is a combo that will be remembered long after the game series is concluded. The well-formatted and realistic story that makes us feel like the scenario could happen to us, the gameplay that creates the perfect sense of immersion with its realism and unknown with its setting, and the sound design that wraps it up in a neat little bow. This chapter is hands down one of, if not the most effective and entertaining horror games I've played, period. And that's it for the video. I'm really excited to play more Fears to Fathom, and I hope you guys are as excited as well to join me on this experience. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Make sure to follow my socials in the description to stay updated on what and when I post, and also have a say in what I make next. I also post my art on there, so go give it a follow. Also check the end card for more videos. Thank you for watching again, and in the meantime, make sure to relax today.